Call of Duty and Ravensoft just killed Warzone. And as harsh as that sounds, it may be actually not far from the truth. So let's get into it. When you get into Warzone, you start dealing with the fact of the matter that playlists mean everything. If you have never played Warzone, basically here's how the way it goes. There is Battle Royale and Resurgence. Each one, for as long as I can remember, can go either quads, trios, duos, or solos, and that was the basic structure of every gunfight, gunplay, and approach for the game. Either you went by yourself or with up to 3 other friends, and that was the core gameplay loop. But for the last month, we've been without Resurgence solos, and we've been without the Battle Royale duos. Well, today that has got one step worse, as they have now confirmed that for the next however long they feel like it until Black Ops comes out, they are going to be no longer including duos and trios inside of Warzone, and there will not be any solos or duos inside of Resurgence. Which is weird, because basically you're going to have trios only available in ranked for Resurgence, and then you're going to have only solos and quads for Battle Royale. Meaning if you don't have at least 3 other friends inside of the Resurgence mode, you're stuck with randoms. And if you don't have, if you're not playing by yourself, you need at least 3 other friends to be able to play Warzone BR, otherwise you're again stuck with randoms. And why is this problematic? Well, the biggest problem with all that means either one of 2 things. Either one, Call of Duty has now effectively stretched its community so thin that they don't have enough players to even play all of the game modes without severely damaging the way that the server runs and its stability. Because the way that skill-based matchmaking, which doesn't really exist, I'll get into that later, but the way that skill-based matchmaking works inside Call of Duty is they work to try to find as many players as they can inside your skill bracket, and then from there, they work to backfill it to try to get you to play other players. Which means, if you've ever wondered, it's like, why do I have a 1 KD and I'm always fighting the best, biggest, sweatiest players to ever exist inside of Warzone? Well, it's because there's not enough players to fill your lobby, and they're just kind of grab whoever they can that's falling in under your good enough ping and similar enough skill set. Well, that always ends up with you fighting every sweat that's ever been known to man, because you exist inside of a game that doesn't have enough players to actually fill it anymore. Now, what is that gonna mean for most players is, as that continues to happen, it's going to get worse and worse. So now, what they've done is they've removed playlists to basically remove that issue of finding enough players, because everybody is now being funneled into one of essentially only 4 potential playlists. So that means that this game has lost so many players on its consistency that it no longer has the ability to even fill the basic needs of the servers that we've been running since day 1 of March 2020 inside of Warzone. That is utterly disturbing, because that means that this game has fallen off so hard since the original Warzone that it is almost unrecognizable in player base size. Or the second thing is, they no longer trust their game enough to be able to be consistent, that they are going to expect to find enough players to play it consistently. Now that means that the player base is still large enough to play, but not large enough to be consistent. And that runs into a second issue, which is, if the player base is still large enough but not large enough to be consistent, that means that they are dealing with a severe drop-off in other regions. And because of the game being a multi-regional game, that means that you're running into the issue that they are now paying for servers in areas that they can't properly support, which means they're throwing more and more players into one lobby at a time, causing more server stress and more issues as far as the ability to actually fill those servers. So either the player base is falling so far below its actual recommended that they can't honestly fill their lobbies, or B, that they're paying for lobbies in areas that are no longer heavily enough supported, that they are not able to even properly guarantee that you're fighting in a good situation. All of which leads to really bad servers and really bad hit detection, and probably an increase for cheaters for most players, because as the skill-based matchmaking gets spread thin, that you're going to start running into cheaters on almost everything, because there will no longer be basically a protected bracket for the quote-unquote lower skilled or at least less played players. And the high tier players are going to see more and more because there's less room for them to even make shadow ban lobbies. So now we're running into the biggest, the problem, which is if there's not enough players to either support regions or not enough players to support the skill-based matchmaking, what can Call of Duty even do if they've already taken to the point where they're reducing playlists down to only half of their potential quote-unquote core playlist options? Well, next on our line is we're going to be dealing with the fact that if we don't have enough players to be playing all of the playlists that we have, and we don't have enough players to fill particular regions, we may start looking at a situation where there may not even be enough players to support the game to be playing all the time. And as someone who has seen what Activision does when they aren't making as much money as they want, we may end up in a situation where Black Ops 6 may be the last time that we see support for Warzone. And if you look at the options that they're bringing back for Warzone, may not be too far off either. Considering the fact that the big reveal for Call of Duty Warzone was bringing back a map that we already have. We've lost all the maps that we've already been given. We've lost Verdansk once, we've lost Caldera already, we've lost Al Mazrah, we've lost Ashika. We don't get to see Fortune's Keep or Vondel frequently. The big surprise for this haunting season was basically the fact that they recycled the entire game mode. They didn't change anything really into the game. And the only thing that was really added that would be considered new is Purgatory, which is a 2-hour-long plunder, essentially, with a bunch of party tricks. So after 2 years of just downhill things since the release of Warzone 2.0, we haven't really seen the game innovate much. And other than releasing Urzikstan, we haven't seen really anything new be released to the game. So now we have to question, is this a moment where they may actually just be done with Warzone? It looks like the writing's on the wall for Warzone's not really getting any support anymore. Big Map's not getting any support. Resurgence isn't receiving anything new. Big Map isn't receiving anything new. Game's not really changing any. And the only thing that is consistent is the fact that they continuously send new broken weapons that really don't get addressed quick enough. Now, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. There did get nerfed pretty quick, and so did the brand new grip that came with the cast-off LSW. But for the most part, it took them months to adjust the SCG, months for them to adjust the RPK back in Warzone 2.0, and months to really even attempt to do anything to change it. We got one major update inside of Warzone since Urzikstan came out, and that was the explosion of old pop-off here, and then they added in Superstore, but that's just, again, another reused asset for the most part. So that's not really something that was completely new. It's just a reused asset, similar to how we got the small area inside of Caldera, the reused whatever that area was called. I can't remember now because I hated that area so much it never even occurred to me that people would like it. But we've seen less and less support for BR, less and less changes for the Resurgence map, and at this point it's starting to look like that Black Ops 6 may be Warzone's last hurrah. Because looking at Area 99, I wasn't impressed. It's another Resurgence map again. And I don't know. Right now it's looking like Ricochet can't even attempt to keep up with cheaters. And the game is getting less and less of a return for the amount of time that people are putting into it. And I don't even know if Call of Duty is looking to support it any further. There were rumors of a DMZ 2.0 coming with the Infinity Ward. And with the major shift in the industry of going to extraction-based shooters, we may see a DMZ 2.0 after all. Call of Duty may look to cash in on the newest, biggest, baddest thing in the market, and maybe they learn from the mistakes they made inside of DMZ 2, and DMZ 2.0 will be a lot of fun. But as of right now, I am not having a lot of hope that Warzone will continue. And if it does, I don't foresee a moment in where Warzone 2.0 or where Warzone really recovers back to anywhere near its original hoorah of the Warzone. Now, of course, I want to hear what you all feel about this. I've been running over here with the Moors and the Ball 27 inside of some plunder, just because it's real easy to chit-chat while it's all going on. How do you feel? Would you like to see a return of DMZ 2.0 to kind of over where Warzone's at, or do you really think that Warzone still has a chance inside of the current market to be successful? I know I personally would love to see Warzone still succeed, as it's something I've put a lot of time into, a lot of effort into, and had a lot of fun playing. But for the most part, I don't know. I've lost a lot of faith inside of the game, especially when it comes to Ricochet. The number of unresponded cheaters, the slow response in the game, and just the overall no attention to BR makes me wonder if I'm just done with this game. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you all have to think. Obviously, we'll be covering more of this all throughout as this continues to come out, and as Verdansk comes out, we'll look at it again, see if we were onto something or if I was just looking too hard into it from a negative light. I don't know. But I look forward to hearing from y'all. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, peace.